1800s, the Civil War broke out. The Confederacy was just forming and lacked the resources that the North had. Because of this, neither the Confederacy nor the Union had a formal military intelligence network. So, spies and espionage operations were their only way to obtain information. Before joining the Confederacy, Virginia Governor John Letcher created a spy network in Washington, D.C. Letcher hired Thomas Jordan and Rose O'Neal Greenhow. In July 1861, Greenhow sent a coded message to Jordan across the Potomac that included details about a plan for a federal invasion. Betty Duval was the carrier of the message and had to dress as a farm girl in order to get past the Union sentinels and deliver the message. After this, General Bragard credited Greenhow for helping his rebel army win a surprise victory at the First Battle of Bull Run on July 21st. Adding to Letcher's spy network, the Confederacy also had a covert intelligence agency called the Secret Service Bureau. This was a rail line that ran from Washington, D.C. to Richmond, Virginia. They used this line, titled the Secret Line, to communicate vital information between armies that were on the field. William Norris was also responsible for helping them get it to go from Washington, D.C. to Richmond. Also, the Secret Service Bureau passed coded messages so that they could be transported to Confederate agents in the North, Canada, and Europe. Some Confederate soldiers acted as spies for the rebel cause.
One of the first spies that we will be learning about is Allan Pinkerton. He was from Chicago, where he founded his own detective agency. He was hired by General George B. McClellan in mid-1861 and assigned to be a part of McClellan's Army of the Potomac. He sent undercover agents to Richmond to charm themselves, but problems then occurred. Miscalculations were made when describing the Confederate numbers, and they calculated them by 2 or 3 times their actual strength. They then had to make reinforcement calls to help deal with the mistake. Our next agent is Timothy Webster. He was born in 1829 in England, but moved to New Jersey during the 1830s. Later on, he became a policeman and detective when he was in New York City. In 1861, he saved Abraham Lincoln from an assassination plot against him. He was also offered a position to be the colonel of the 2nd Arkansas Regiment, but declined the offer. He was a successful double agent until February 1862. At this point, he was diagnosed with inflammatory rheumatism and was forced to quit spying. As time passed, he eventually received a death sentence by a Confederate judge. Webster was the first Civil War spy to be executed for intelligence-gathering activities. He was killed on April 29, 1862.
Our next spy, Sam Davis, was known as the boy hero of the Confederacy. He was born on October 6, 1842, in Smyrna, Tennessee. At the age of 18, he joined the 1st Tennessee Volunteer Infantry. After his experiences at the Battle of Perryville, where he got shot, he decided to pursue his career into becoming a spy. Davis was captured in 1863 while trying to find plans of Union forces in Tennessee. The Union knew he was a spy due to the maps he had in his saddle, so they ordered him to be executed. He was then killed on October 6, 1863, his 21st birthday. The next spy is known for being one of the most successful spies in American history. Henry Thomas Harrison was born on April 23, 1832, in Covington, Kentucky. He was a spy for the Confederates, and in May of 1861, Harrison joined the 12th Mississippi Infantry. At this point, he gained his title of being extremely successful, and in return, was paid mainly with gold. He then moved his family to Mexico, and left them in 1866 to continue searching for gold. Harrison wasn't heard from for 25 years after he left, and some assumed he had died, but this was not true until 1923, when his death was officially announced.
Next is Lafayette Baker. Not much is known of his early life, but we will start to learn of his accomplishments in the mid-1800s. Baker went to California at this time and took part in the California Gold Rush. He then stayed in California until 1861, until he got an offer for a Union position back east. He rushed back for the job once he heard the news of war. Sam Munson was the name he used as his alias when he was ready to start off his expedition as a spy. Sadly, he was almost immediately captured and arrested by Confederates, but released by President Davis. He then operated as head of his intelligence department. After a disagreement with his boss, he was moved to a lower position and wasn't moved back up until the death of Abraham Lincoln. In 1865, Baker's crew was sent to kill John Wilkes Booth, and a few years later, in 1868, he died as well.
The next famous spies that we will be sharing are some female agents. In this time period, there weren't as many women, but they still made an equal change to the side of the war that they were supporting.
First is Isabel Maria Boyd, who is better known as Belle Boyd. She was born on May 9, 1844, in Martinsville, Virginia. She attended college in Baltimore at Mount Washington College. After the seceding of her home state, she went back to Martinsville to work as a nurse. On July 3rd, when Union troops tried to raise a Union flag at her, she gathered information about the Federal troop movement before the Battle of Manassas. She used this information and sent it through her slaves to the Confederate Army. She used a similar technique of gathering information up until 1862, when she was imprisoned for a month. Later in 1864, she was captured by Captain Samuel Hardinge. The two eventually fell in love with each other and got married in England. When the newlyweds returned to America, they were both thrown in prison. Boyd was left all alone in prison when Hardinge died in 1866. After her release, she traveled back to England where she became an actress. She eventually died in 1900.
Our final spy is Sarah Emma Edmonds. Edmonds was born in December of 1848. She joined the Union Army while disguising herself as a man named Franklin Thompson. After joining the Army, she continued her career by going into work as a field nurse while still maintaining her disguise. Throughout the war, she disguised herself repeatedly as a peddler, a slave, and other disguises to cross enemy lines and gather important information. On May 25, 1861, she enlisted in Company F of the 2nd Michigan Infantry. She later contracted malaria and traveled to a private hospital to help her because she feared being discovered in a military hospital. In September of 1898, Sarah Emma Edmonds finally passed away at the age of 49.
Thank you for watching. Now we will play a game to see if you would survive during the Civil War era.